Business has the power to transform lives. When leaders grow, companies thrive, creating opportunities for employees, families, and communities. Through practical guidance, proven frameworks, and real-world experience, we help business owners build organizations that are scalable, valuable, and sustainable. Welcome to the David Koehn Show.
All right, friends, welcome to the David Koehn Show. Today's episode is all about our failures because I truly believe that we learn the most lessons from the mistakes that we make. And you're most qualified to help the person that you used to be. So today we're going to dig into my 21-year entrepreneurship journey and really just discuss some of the areas where I failed, because I truly believe that being humble and understanding where we hit roadblocks and sharing those failures will help other entrepreneurs get through those. In some of these areas, they might be right where you are today. So let's go ahead and dive in and really just talk about, as a young entrepreneur, as you're getting started and you're growing your business, you start understanding business. You're out there knocking doors, you're getting after it, and you're really just trying to do everything you can to increase top line revenue. So as your company's building, you're getting clients, you're understanding your trade, you're understanding your processes a little bit. So let's just kind of dig right in. Boom, you've got your first 20 customers and your revenues are coming in and your business bank account's growing. So the first mistake that I made was treating my company bank account like it was my personal account. And a lot of young entrepreneurs really don't understand the concept of paying themselves as if they're an employee when you're young and you're getting started. So every dollar that comes into the bank account, when you go to dinner, when you take your girlfriend out, whatever, or if you're single and you're at the bar and you're just, you're Diamond Dave. That's what my dad used to call me, was Diamond Dave. He was like, son, you spend so much money on the dumbest stuff. And he was exactly right. And, a lot of lessons that we learn, you always get advice from your parents or some older, wiser person. And you're like, nah, that ain't me. I'm cool. I'm just going to keep running. I made $1,000, today, so I'm going to spend $1,000 tonight. And you're swiping the company card like it's your money. And I'm telling you right now that that's a huge mistake, because one, it's really just messy. At the end of the year, you're trying to send your financials to your CPA. They're trying to figure out what was business related, what's personal related. And it really is just, it's a mess. So the first lesson is financial discipline. And financial discipline is understanding that you have to separate your personal expenses from your business expenses as soon as possible. And honestly, the profitability of your company, if it's 10% and you're doing $1 million a year, that's only $100,000. That $100,000 still has to be in the bank account for next year's growth. How are you going to buy and invest in training and equipment and growing the business if you're essentially spending that $100,000 like it's your salary? So the first lesson here is understanding financial discipline and understanding what your salary and what your compensation can be based on the company and as your company grows. So lesson one is financial discipline. Lesson two is really, once your business is growing, understanding your costs. So one of the main reasons that we struggled so much in the earlier stages at Koehn Outdoor was because I didn't really clearly understand what the company was costing me to run. And as you're growing and you're hungry, you're taking on as many projects as you can. So, you're building relationships, you're out there grinding, and you get these opportunities to do projects that are sizable. So you take on your first $20,000 job and the client has gotten 3 bids at 30,000, 25,000, and 20,000, but they like you. So they come to you and they say, I really want you to do this work, but I need you to do it for $20,000. And in your mind at that time, you're going, 20K, I'll figure it out. We're going to take on this project. But you really don't truly understand what that job costs. Not just the material and the labor, but understanding your overhead as far as your rent, your light bill, all of your indirect expenses that are not tied to that job. And if you don't really clearly understand that, and going back to number one, if you're spending your money for personal things outside or from your business, really, you don't have the clarity of what your company's truly cost is. So that way you can start building direct cost estimates. The direct cost estimates, once you know your overhead, will allow you to understand your break-even point and allow you to really truly understand how you should be bidding these jobs. And a lot of young entrepreneurs, myself included, would take on projects that we assumed were going to be profitable, but they were not. They were actually costing us money and in some cases losing money. So understanding what your overhead number is and understanding very clear on your costs of doing business, the burden that's included with your payroll, the taxes, insurances, all of the things that go into running your business need to become part of your indirect costs. Create that into a percentage. Your direct costs become a percentage. And once you do that, you can really get a clear understanding of what's left. And then you can clearly set your benchmarks for your pricing. So that is step 2, understanding your cost. Step 3 is not investing in your personal development and also not investing in team development. So once your company becomes a little bit more sizable and you're growing, you're wearing all the hats. You don't feel like you have enough time to do anything but out there grind. You're still doing sales. You're still probably doing advertising, marketing. You're trying to wear every hat and still be involved in the quality control, the operations. And this just becomes a lot of pressure. It can become a lot of pressure on your shoulders because everything is relying on you for the success of the company. So the thought of personal development, the thought of spending time to read the books, spending time to listen to that podcast on the way into work versus music to get you pumped up or get you ready to go. That is something that I didn't understand. And it costs just a tremendous amount in just lost production, lost knowledge, because I wasn't investing in myself. I wasn't investing in my health. I wasn't investing in training for leadership. I wasn't investing in good equipment. I was really looking at things from a scarcity mindset. And the mindset is that I have to save every dime that I can. So we're buying the cheapest trucks we can on Craigslist. We're buying used machinery. We're doing everything we can to minimize cost, which is needed when you're a smaller growing company. But at the same time, you're really not investing. There's a difference between a cost and an investment. And when you're talking about personal development, that is an investment. That is much different than looking at it as a cost. So as you are growing your company, I highly advise you to start reading the books about business, start listening to podcasts like this that are pouring information into you that can help you become a better leader, because you will hit a lid. You'll hit a ceiling in your leadership, and the company's growth is going to stop at that level of leadership. So if you want your company to continue to grow and continue to expand, you have to expand as the owner, and you have to continue to gain more skills, gain more knowledge, and have the tools and resources needed in order for you to be able to have the right foundation. It's really about building that strong foundation of leadership. And the same goes on the equipment side and the employee side. If you're investing in yourself personally to build your personal development and to build your leadership, if you look at it through the company's lens, as you bring in team members, are you investing in them? Are you buying them books? Are you sitting down with them and mentoring them and encouraging them and building them up? That is one of the most important roles as a leader, is that you have to be continually building yourself and then transferring that belief to your team. So a lot of mentors that I've had have defined leadership as the transfer of belief. So until you can really build your self-confidence and your belief, you're not going to be able to pour that belief and confidence into your team. So investing in yourself, investing in your team, investing in the right tools, the right equipment, the right trucks, everything that's going to help become more operationally efficient and is going to help set you above the standard in your industry. Because you really want to have that, like, we are the top of the industry, we lead this market, and approach business from a mindset that you are going to lead this market. You're going to do things that your competition is not going to do. You have to set yourself apart that way, because if you approach it just trying to be, one of many, you're not going to have a unique value proposition that sets yourself apart from your competition. So that is really the third lesson here. So quick recap: financial discipline, knowing your costs, and then investing in yourself, investing in your people, investing in your team. Lesson 4 in business for me was getting into trades and into providing services that were not in our core sphere of influence. Every company is building an identity. And as your company grows, you start to think you become more capable of doing other things. So we're probably 10 years in at this point. I'll kind of go back, storytell for a little bit, is, we were about a $5 million company. And large-scale contractors were coming to me as I was building relationships and asking me to take on projects outside of Jacksonville. These were large projects. It was kind of the shiny object syndrome. And I had a little bit of an inflated ego of what I could achieve. And as I started to look at the size of these projects, there were a lot of core components of these projects that I really didn't have the knowledge or the expertise in, which were large-scale outdoor kitchens, pergolas, pavers, waterfalls, all these things, and it tied in with landscaping and landscape management. So I assumed that stepping into these new trades was going to be a benefit. But what I really didn't understand was the opportunity cost of taking our eyes off of the core focus. And really having that identity is, are we going to be a construction company that builds structures and builds pools and, creates these outstanding environments? Or are we going to focus on being a core management and maintenance company that's known for providing the highest level of service? So whatever industry that you're in, whether that be roofing, plumbing, electrical, landscaping, certainly there are opportunities that you can chase that are outside of your core competencies. And my advice to you is decide who you want to be when you grow up. And when I say that, I mean your company. What does your company want to be known for? And what is your legacy? What do you want the market to say about you? Are you a jack of all and a master of none? Or when somebody talks about your company, do they say, he's the absolute best in our market? You have to use him. And I truly believe that you're going to gain more market share by being an absolute market leader in knowing your core competency and focusing on that, training toward that, building that, and scaling that. The other piece of advice here is make sure that that core competency is building your enterprise value, because trade companies, really, we are all building for an exit. And if you're not strategic about how you're approaching your services, and if those services are transferable, if they are building enterprise value for your company. So a lot of these one-time services are not actually adding enterprise value. They look good, they might be sexy, they look great on your website, but if they're not building true enterprise value, is it worth the opportunity cost and loss that you're taking away from your other core businesses? So one of the real lessons in that is simply the fact of, if you're going to decide to take on other trades or other pieces of your business, make sure that you 100% bring in someone to run that department or run that division who has the knowledge, who has the core competencies. Because as the owner, once you get scattered too thin, you will 100% start to lose ground in all of your other areas. So those are the 4 things. We're going to talk about 5. So the last one today is not hiring a coach or a consultant sooner. So a lot of younger entrepreneurs, of course, really don't understand the power of having someone to come in and guide them and to coach them. And in my entrepreneurship journey, I like to say my first 10 years was practice. I brought in a coach, consultants, mentors, and then for about 2 to 3 years, it was a restructure. Then there was a complete restructuring of all of the mistakes and all of the problems that I created as the owner by trying to chase all of these other rabbits. And our financials were unorganized. I didn't have the clarity that I needed to really understand where I was winning and where I was losing. And a lot of the entrepreneurs that I talk with are struggling from that same lack of clarity, that they have all of these opportunities, but I don't believe that they really understand which one is the most scalable, which one is going to create the most value, and which one are they the best at. So sitting down with a coach and a consultant is going to give you the oversight that you need. It's a second set of eyes that's outside of your organization that can really sit down and look at it from 30,000 feet, because you are in the weeds. You are in there just grinding. And a lot of these things you cannot see because you're not spending enough time at 30,000 feet. You're down on the ground with the team. And bringing in someone to look at your company, completely look at the financial structure, the reporting structure, your services, what's building your value, and help you build that game plan of what to eliminate, what to do more of, what key team members you need. These are just all things that having a coach and having a consultant can help you with. So when I look back, if I would have brought in a coach, a consultant, let's say year 1, year 2, right out of the gate, there's no doubt in my mind our company would have probably doubled. We were an 8-figure company when we exited, but I can assure you I would have gotten there in half the time than it took me to get there if I would have brought someone in sooner. So that is a huge lesson, is do not be afraid to ask for help. I think so many business owners let their own pride and their own ego get in the way of them calling someone to bring in the right consultant, the right person. And as you develop and as you go through these 5 lessons, bringing in the right person will absolutely change the trajectory, your mindset, your focus, your clarity, like coach you on the tools that you need. Everything that you need, someone has already done. So that's the fifth lesson, guys, is to make sure that you are always looking to grow. You're always looking to become better than you were the day before. So as we wrap up this episode, I'm going to go through these lessons one more time. 5 lessons that I learned over 21 years in business. Lesson number 1, you have to have financial discipline. You have to separate your personal expenses from your company's expenses. Pay yourself a wage that is competitive, that you and your family can live on. Keep amount of company profits in there. Number 2, know your costs. Understand every dollar that goes out of the door and have good clarity on exactly how to build your estimates and build your margins, your markups, all the things that go into creating that estimate. If you don't know your cost, you're lost. That was good. Number 3, not investing in yourself, not investing in your people, not investing in software, CRMs, tools. You have to invest in your company's tools, systems, people in order for it to grow. Number 4, stop doing work that you shouldn't be doing just because there's high dollar revenue targets or high value numbers associated with that. Know exactly where you should be. Know exactly what you want to be when you grow up. The identity of your company, your core focus, and push toward becoming the market leader in that. Number 5, bring on a coach or a consultant to help you walk through these challenges every single day and just be there with you and guiding you. That's it for today, guys. I appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Business has the power to transform lives. When leaders grow, companies thrive, creating opportunities for employees, families, and communities. Through practical guidance, proven frameworks, and real-world experience, we help business owners build organizations that are scalable, valuable, and sustainable. Welcome to the David Koehn Show.